My son and I went to a local toy show this past weekend, March 12th, and both he and I were looking for some Star Wars stuff. And there I happened to spy a rather unique figure that I did not have in my collection that was in less than fair shape, let's say. You can see from the first photo that EV-9D9 was, well, it has a bolt sticking through it. And the bolt is going in at a really odd angle. That meant someone cut off the peg for the leg and drilled this bolt in. Just a horrible type of restoration job, in my opinion. The left arm was broken off the socket as well. But the good thing was that the right arm moved freely, the jaw moved up and down nicely, and the head also turned right and left. So all was not lost, and the price was decent enough that I thought, well, maybe with just a few tricks I can restore it. Now, in the next frame is going to be some of the tools that you will need if you want to try to restore your own. You'll notice that there's a ruler, a caliper to measure the pins to go in, super glue. There's also some styrene plastic on the far right, and that includes a 1/8 inch rod. The guy had drilled in for a 1/8 inch bolt, and you can see that it's not even on center in the pelvis. It's even where the pin, where the leg used to connect, is almost totally gone. You'll also notice that the pelvis is also broken. It's cracked there. You just take a close-up look at the right side. And now when we come back to the left side, I will show you how I repaired the arm. And it was a pretty simple process. Since the pin from the arm was still left in the socket, I used a pin vise and drilled a hole measuring the diameter of it, meaning the drill bit, and then a paper clip. That's what I use as a pin. And so then I ended up you can see there where it's drilled into the arm. And so then I just super glued it into the shoulder first, and then super glued it into the arm, and now the arm freely moves up and down. I also super glued the pelvis in place and held that with a clamp, and then used some zip kicker to speed up the process, and that now works really well. You can see there that the arm is attached and it freely moves up and down. The next stage of the game was repairing the pelvis. So the first thing I did was I filled it in with 1/8 rod styrene plastic. Just completely there, used Ambroid Pro Weld, and you can see there I have some needle nose tweezers to line things up properly. And then here is another view of that from the left side. I had to use some additional styrene tube to go around the 1/8 inch rod. You can get that from Evergreen Plastic Supply. Now the next picture shows both the legs and the pelvis. Fortunately, the legs were drilled cleanly, so the 1/8 rod fitted perfectly, and I rounded out the edges to look like the original. The next stage of the game was a whole lot of fun. This happens to be a pin that holds a wristband to a watch, and I needed some sort of sleeve with which I could attach some sort of pin, like a nail, that it would float inside. So here is a brad that I had on hand, and I cut that to the right size so it would go halfway in between the pelvis on each side. Took out the springs out of that pin that goes to the watch, and then slipped that inside. The head of the brad prevented it from moving, pulling out. And then I super glued the sleeve of the watch band into EV-9D9's pelvis, and then slipped the brad inside. There you can see a little bit of the sleeve sticking out, and the brad as well. Call it a wire brad. And then I just simply super glued the leg to the brad. It was as easy as that. There you can see a top view of it, and as well, one leg was already done. And so just slipping that brad inside that sleeve, it allows it to rotate freely. And here we have a finished product. EV-9D9, standing, both legs, holding them up. It was a fun project and one of the most challenging ones I have done yet for restoring toys. Now this picture of the left side shows that dowel, what I would call a dowel, that 1/8 inch styrene rod sticking out just a bit, just like it did in the original. And I haven't painted it yet. I just did that for photo purposes. Here's the right side. And believe it or not, the legs do move quite freely, as you will see in a few more photos here. So here we have EV-9D9 doing the dance. There you can see that the legs, I've got the right leg moved back, the arms moved, the jaw open. And that seems to be a problem with some of these, is that the plastic is very brittle. And now this is the painted version. So I painted the pins. Military brown, made by Testers, is a pretty close match. I mixed it just a little bit. It was drying there, and so now you can see that the color darkened up just a bit. Usually the color lightens as it dries, but this way it was a bit darker. And then here is the here's the left side. EV-9D9 standing there. So if you need to restore your vintage Kenner EV-9D9, feel free to personal message me if you need more tips. Hope you enjoy the video.